I think some of the big takeaways is actually employing the right talent into your industry, or just looking at creating the right playing field for developers. And the best developers in this world are going to be looking at the Snapchats, the startup type businesses. They might be looking at places like Google and other major IT players, and Google take this very seriously to employ that talent. And therefore I think the challenge for industries, and certainly very regulated industries around financial services, etc., they're going to really struggle to hire that talent, because that football pitch needs to be open. It needs to be the ability to play in every different space, and yet you're restricted by certain things. So in defence industry as well, those people are going to be really restricted in actually what they can develop, where they can develop, and yet the best talent wants to be able to develop wherever they can. And I think also the pricing of that, therefore, is going to go up and up, of the pricing of these people. And therefore, I think there's a real challenge within enterprises to make sure that in BI or data intelligence or analytics, in every different aspect, it's going to be a real challenge for those enterprises to keep hiring their talent. I think also change is a big thing. Right now, you can effectively get any compute power on any stage for a very short, very small amount of cost. And so the next startup doesn't have to have a big capital investment. They just don't need to have the money. They can buy as they go. And therefore the next startup could be round the corner to these enterprises, and they don't actually know it. They have a lot of legacy IT systems. They have a lot of legacy in people and processes. And yet the next organization coming along can be so much more agile. In the next 12 months, I think CIOs really need to think about what their strategy is, not just, what you can achieve in 5 years is probably underestimated. What you can achieve in 1 year, they overestimate what they can do in 1 year. So really think about, what is that 5-year horizon going to be like? How are you going to be changing your business and influencing that? And then take a real aggressive stance against change. And how you implement change. Today is the slowest rate of change that we will ever experience, as I said. So if this is the slowest rate, then you have to put in those ways and processes to make change happen. And I think as CIOs really put together their strategy for the next 12 or 5 years, that they've got to really execute against that change and not be afraid to do that. Because if they are, someone else will be more bullish in their approach, and they'll maybe fall behind the times.
I think there were two really. One, the need to understand security and its context in the business place. I think that came home more than I'd ever imagined it to be. The other one is around organizational maturity, and I think organizational maturity here is quite a big deal, because I think translating technology to the board and being able to get technology brought into the business and used in a proper way is going to require some form of translation machine, and I think the translation machine here is the CIO. And I think they're the only ones that have the responsibility to translate technology into something that can benefit the company, make money for them, change revenues, bring returns, or save costs. And then security, obviously, I think after the discussions on security, that came home today. That was pretty profound. And the other one is around the sort of level of organizational immaturity that seems to exist around people in the open sessions. In the last few minutes, the open sessions there already did give us some serious insights into the lack of organizational maturity that is perceived. Whether it's there or not there, I have no idea, I can't judge. But there seems to be a sort of big gap in understanding of what organizational maturity is, particularly with Gen X, Gen Y, our generation, the older generation, the younger generation, and the in-between generation. So I think the takeaways today were pretty profound. I mean, I've walked away with a lot more to think about. I came here sort of pretty open-minded, but I've got a lot of questions now, and I think that's what these events are all about. The next 12 months is translating technology into business speak, as in how a company makes money, how it leverages it in terms of getting revenue, making revenue, and not losing intellectual property. That's the biggest challenge we have, because technology is moving so fast, sort of with implants and the level of technology today is moving at a pace way faster than cultural change, and somewhere along the line the CIO needs to be a very, very special person, somebody who can translate that to the board and make it make sense.
I think the biggest takeaway is that the pace of technology change and technological change is only going to increase, and that as new technology is introduced into the workplace, the security challenges of providing a safe and secure environment to enable business to operate is going to become even more challenging. CIOs have already said, and it was reiterated today, that security is the number one challenge. As intellectual property of the organisation, as its assets are distributed across the cloud, understanding those assets, their value, where they are, and how to protect them will continue to be a major challenge.
I think there's a couple of challenges. The biggest one, I would think, in my opinion, will be combining bring your own device with a security policy. Now that involves a number of different remits and having a good security policy, having a good security partner, but together with that it's a good staff management policy, and of course employing the right people with the right security mindset. That to me is going to be the biggest challenge. There are others, such as data management, together with having a growth plan, strategy, and for CIOs it's going to be about getting into the boardroom, it's going to be about getting their voice heard and getting their policies implemented.